Well, as the Australian Tennis Open draws near, local tennis fans sadly still have to look to the future for an Australian male player who can challenge for the main championship. But there will be one man who will be defending a singles title at Melbourne Park. Luke Saville has just won a wildcard entry to the Open, where just last year he won the boys' tournament, and in 2011 he got the Wimbledon junior title. Well, although the South Australians made very few headlines, perhaps fortunately for him, he is part of a rich tradition of players from the bush. Mike Sexton reports.
When Luke Saville comes to the court, he's armed with a thumping serve, a two-fisted backhand and nimble feet.
He's got an all-court game. He's a big, strong kid. He's a good athlete. One of the better attitudes I've seen in a long time. And he's one of those kids I always think, well, he deserves it.
The 18-year-old also has broad shoulders, which is just as well, given he's carrying the weight of expectation of a success-starved sport that wants to believe a kid from the bush can become a champion in the city.
There's been a lot of good players from the country. I don't really know why that is. Maybe just really down-to-earth people and really tight community in the Riverland. We all love our tennis.
This is where Luke Saville comes from, his family's fruit block on the Murray River near the South Australian town of Barmera. He grew up here steeped in two family traditions, hard work and tennis, and that combination has taken him from the red soil of the Riverland to the manicured lawn at Wimbledon.
It's Australia's day.
In the past 2 years on the junior circuit, the right-hander has won the boys' singles title at Wimbledon and followed it up with the junior title at the Australian Open.
It's probably not as easy as, just saying, backcourt to Barmera to straight to Wimbledon. I've had a lot of steps. It's been a very, big work in progress to get to that point.
Luke Saville says he's loved tennis from the moment he picked up a racket and battled to get a hit on the crowded court of his family's backyard.
Christmas was the best time of all, when all the relatives would come round and everyone was into tennis and we'd have big grudge matches.
Me and my brother used to have a lot of heated sets out there, a few heated matches, but he was much older than me, so he always used to beat me, which I didn't like too much, but now I'd say it'd be a little bit different story now.
A measure of the competitiveness of the Savilles is that even a game of table tennis appears to have a sheep station at stake.
Oh! No!
But from the backyard matches, it emerged the youngest had a talent that was recognised by a tennis legend who himself had begun life in country South Australia.
We'd go to the country carnival. Quite a few teams from the Riverland would go to Reid Park, and it was around Christmas time. And John Fitzgerald was there, and he actually said, I think he said to you, Mick, that Luke needs to be in Adelaide.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go! Yeah, come on!
John Fitzgerald saw something of himself in Luke Saville. His tennis career began when his dad built a court on the family wheat farm at Cockaleachy on South Australia's Eyre Peninsula. Like other greats from outside the big smoke, such as Yvonne Goolagong, Roy Emerson, Pat Rafter and Rod Laver, he had to overcome the tyranny of distance.
We had great players then who would have been great in any era, but there's a lot more people playing and travelling now, and so it's harder and harder every generation for these kids to dominate the world. So I think if they come from the bush, they have to get to the city pretty quickly, but they have to have a great attitude and they have to love it. And, I know Luke has always loved playing.
To follow John Fitzgerald's advice for better coaching and competition in the city, the Savilles had to effectively separate as a family.
I've got another job as apart from the block, and I'm trying to run that and also running down to Adelaide 3 times a week. And then Tennis Australia people, Tennis SA people saying he had a bit of promise, so it was drive down 4 or 5 times a week, or Judy get on a bike and get down there and stay in this little flat we had there.
For the next 6 years, Judy and Luke lived in Adelaide, while the rest of the family stayed in the Riverland.
He said to me once when we were driving to Adelaide when he was 10 years old, he said, Mum, I don't play tennis for the fun of it, I play tennis to be good at it. And I never ever had to push him to do anything as far as tennis was concerned.
When he was 16, Luke Saville took up a scholarship at the Institute of Sport in Canberra, meaning his mother could return home, but he effectively began a life on the road.
I've obviously grown a lot in the last couple of years. Nudging 6'2" now, so I'd like to be a very aggressive player, a good serve, a bit of a serve volleyer, very good returns, and trying to move forward to the net and take advantage of my good shots.
History shows a vast majority of junior champions have gone on to have professional careers, but there are no guarantees. John Fitzgerald believes the commitment and resilience learned growing up in the country could be an edge.
He's a very good character, Luke, and that comes from his family. And you know, that is the cornerstones, I think, of a young kid maybe having the ability to compete on the world stage, because you need a lot of character. He brings a lot of class to the court too, which I'm really proud of him. You know, we need more young Aussies like Luke.
Whatever lies ahead for their son in the heady world of the international men's tennis circuit, there will always be a place on the river to retreat and remember where it began.
Luke doesn't change too much.
He just loves being home. He loves being around the dog and his brother and sister and sleeping in his own bed.
Big expectations, let's hope. Mike Sexton with that story.